So in life, we all have different levels of intelligence. And you have to be honest with that without being judgmental towards yourself or others. Okay? It's just like everything in life. There's average, which most people fall in. There's above average, which few people fall in. And there's below average, which few people fall in. But different categories, we all rate different. There may be some categories in life where you're above average, and some categories in life you're below average, and then some other categories where you're average. Okay, so be honest with yourself because it's not a bad thing and it's not a judgmental thing. Now, when you're in a situation where you're average or below average in, how do you overcome it? One is to try to be positive, stay out of the way, be diligent to show up and helpful without saying too much, observe so maybe you can get better, and kind of repeat those things. Keep your mouth shut, stay positive, show up, try to observe and learn. And that will kind of substitute for areas in life where you're below average or average. Because when someone is above average at something, they don't need a problem. They need a helper. And I've been a helper in life. Okay. And that's why, to me, as I've developed over the years, I'm okay with sometimes some other person has to lead, or some other person is the authority figure, and sometimes it's me. It doesn't always, you're not always above average in everything. Whether you're highly intelligent, highly physical, strong, or weak here, weak there, right? Everyone has something, okay? And so you overcome by compensating. You've heard of compensation. As far as, like, if you suck in this area, you compensate by doing something else. Now, you don't want to overcompensate. Okay? You don't want to try to overdo something, because that's annoying to everyone, including you. You want to genuinely just be situationally aware. Okay. And there's some people that are not. I've met them. They're a little bit, for whatever reason, there may be a mental disability, and I don't say this harshly or judgmentally, but they're not situationally aware. And I've seen this, and they've put me in dangerous situations, not out of evil, but out of them not aware. They put me in serious physical and emotional harm's way because they're oblivious. And those people, you got to be careful with, and that's why, again, in a first world country, it's a good thing that we have social workers and certain programs to give them basic essentials, because they could hurt you. Okay. And so I also want to share with you in this video that your brain doesn't fully develop till 25. And from 25 to 35, you can really grow a lot. Okay. Because there's a lot of emphasis put on, like, you'll physically fully mature maybe in your teens. Okay. You'll hit growth spurts, and by the time you're 20, you're mature. By the time you're 18, you're an adult. But remember, that may be physical. But mentally, and your ability to grow yourself, knowledge base, and experience, which just takes time and doing, that's going to be between 25 to 35. And then emotionally, you don't really mature till you're in your late 30s or 40s. So what you're trying to do is, when you're graduating, survive school. What you're trying to do when you graduate school, high school, then if you're going to go to vocationary school, or whether you're going to go to right to the workforce, or whether you're going to go to higher learning college, on the side, you do want to work. You want to start doing something. You have youth to do it. You have time, and you don't have too many demands on you when you're 20s, other than the party. Okay, for the most part, for most people. So what you need to do is, you can still party, and you still should enjoy your youth, but a little less partying, a little more work, and push yourself a little bit, because you may not be above average at something. You're not going to be pretty much above average at much in your 20s, because you're just starting some things. When I was in my teens and 20s, I looked up to professional athletes, because it's awesome. but they're peaking in their 20s. Okay, for most people in the workforce in any area, corporate, construction, nursing, social worker, doesn't matter. For most people, you're just starting at the very beginning in your 20s. Okay, and that's why I see to a lot of athletes, which I've known a couple, is they become very depressed in their 30s and 40s because their career is over. They have to reinvent themselves, and they may have blew through a lot of money too, because it's not easy you don't know how to manage money in your 20s. So just remember, in your 20s, you're just starting to develop yourself, okay? Mentally and emotionally. Physically, you may be developed, but just starting. So do something. Don't just learn in books. Work, do things, and take jobs that push you all the way into your 30s. Push your top abilities, because you're gonna hit growth spurts. Okay, like in your 26, you may do a job and you suck at it, and everyone like kind of laughs at you or whatever. But if you keep doing it and you put some effort to learn about some things, you may grow past 5 managers that you had, and you may be at a whole nother level in your late 30s. But that means you're gonna have to do the work physically, not just in books, and it also means you're gonna have to push yourself. Okay. And then kind of as you get into your 40s, now you're developed fully in every way. And then you kind of choose your path. Now, of course, many people get lost because by the time they're in their late 20s, then they start to have kids, or they get very involved in relationships. And that brings people down, because the more people you involve in your life, relationships and children and pets, the more demands you have on you. And the more demands you have on you, the less you can develop yourself. Now, you need a certain amount of demand on you. I often say, like, if I had to say one thing that drove me when I had a lot of bills in my 20s, when I moved out and I had a house and car, a nice car and stuff, that pushed me to push my career to pay for my expenses. But for some people, it doesn't. For some people, everyone is too a little bit. They're born a certain way. So I can't say that what I'm saying in this video is helping everyone. Everyone's on their own journey a little bit, but this will help some people. And it's kind of like what I've gone through in some regards. Okay. And then the final thing I want to share in this video is, then as you kind of develop yourself, because even areas where you were below average and maybe you were able to become average, you don't want to stay there. Okay. As far as not just a job, but in everything in life. You want to, as you become in your middle age, now you have enough experience and enough data to show what you're kind of good at and what you're not. And what you want to start to do when you're in your middle age of life, you want to start to play to your strengths. And you want to start to put yourself in environments, in job roles, in relationships or not in relationships, where you're strong, where it plays to your strengths. Because if you are doing things that you're not at the, at higher average or above average, if you're doing a lot of things that are very hard for you, you're going to fight life more than you need to. And that may be including relationships. And that's why I do believe some people are called to be single. Even me, and some people are, everyone's different. Okay? But I want to tell you that you got to kind of figure out what you're above average at, or what you're average on a topper scale. And there's some things I'm below average at. Again, you got to be honest with yourself. That's how we started the video. And you're being honest with yourself, not to be harsh on yourself and not to be harsh on others. Because if you're a manager, you have to learn this too. If you're a manager, it's like being a coach. You don't want to have your center running as your point guard. Even if they have some level of average ball handling skills, that's not their role. That's not their strength. Their strength is playing in the post. Okay. And there's always exceptions, so be careful with exceptions. But a manager's job is all the same thing. It's like you put people in a position where they're kind of strong at doing something, okay, and as much as you can, And so there's all time. Just remember too, there's times in life we got to do things we're not good at. Sometimes everyone's just got to pitch in, but that's the exception, not the rule. But I'm sharing all these things in a 10-minute video to try to help you, okay. And so you can look at your life. You can start doing something, especially if you're in 20s. Do it. Push yourself as you get into your 30s. Then start to define yourself, and then start to play to your strengths more, and just acknowledge, okay, I'm above average here, but I'm below average there. It's not a judgmental thing. It's just an observation to put me more in a position where I do things at least at an average or an above average way. Because if you're always putting yourself in a position where everything's a struggle, then life's going to be a little bit harder than it needs to be. And if you're unwilling to do anything, then everything's a struggle. And that's always the sales pitch, to at least get out of bed and walk, okay? And don't complain, okay? Because again, if you're below average and you're not doing anything and you're complaining, get ready, because no one wants to deal with you, including me. And that's where, and that's where life is. And that's pretty much summed up. So I hope this video helped. If it did, click the thumbs up, share it, and subscribe. All free things that you can do. Because remember, guys, when you're dealing with people that are very negative, even if everything's free, still ain't free enough. Now, let's stay positive.